Nurture and Support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Nurture and Support. This is episode 19, and yay, we have a special guest with us again this week. I am, of course, Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, and Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter. And with us again, a lady we like to call Less Work for Mel and I. As well as being just totally awesome, we have Jeans with us again today.
Hi, Young Jeans on Twitter, YEUNG.
Yay. We're so glad you could come back and join us, because like Kelly said, it means less work for us, but we enjoy catching up. It's so much fun.
Right. I have the giggles all the time.
We're giggle worthy. We're high on life, people. Can't you tell?
Living the dream.
So you could reach us at all of the normal places, nurtureandsupport.net. Hit us up on Twitter at our individual Twitter handles or at nertandsup and nertandsup@gmail.com. To give us your recommendations. We'd love to hear what you think of the show. If you have any recommendations that we haven't covered, we'd love to hear from you. And with that, we'll jump into the first recommendation, which it's my turn to start this week. So, all of you who know me probably are acquainted with my love of the show Fringe. It's one of my favorite shows, which came to a conclusion in season 5. Last season. It is a bad robot show, which means that it's by J.J. Abrams. It was also executive produced by J.H. Wyman. Does anybody know what current show they're working on as well?
The remake of Ice Castles.
No, not Ice Castles, I'm afraid. But another show which I find very similar in aspects sometimes to Fringe is Almost Human, which I think we've all watched.
Yes.
So they are both involved in that show as well. Hopefully it will get renewed since they still haven't told us. But back to Fringe. Anybody here watch Dawson's Creek back in the day?
Like 2 episodes.
Oh my gosh!
Jeans is 2 episodes ahead of me.
Oh, okay. So I'm the only pathetic one who watched Dawson's Creek. How sad. I'm so disappointed. Joshua Jackson played Pacey in Dawson's Creek. He was my favorite character because he was kind of the screw-up bad boy in that show. And he was kind of a screw-up as a high school student, and then later as they all went off to college. But that's where I'm not sure that he did, but the others did.
I didn't realize the show went on long enough for them to go to college. Oh, that's...
It did. So that was the reason I bring it up is because that was my introduction to Joshua Jackson. And he is the main reason that I started watching Fringe to begin with. You know, they were all talking about, he's going to be in this new show. And so that was my first draw to this show. Fringe is the story of, if you liked X-Files, Fringe is very similar in that they kind of do a case of the week or monster of the week type show. But there is an overarching storyline of a parallel universe and all of this cool sciencey stuff that's going on. You don't actually have to understand science to get it. Just, sit back and enjoy the fringe science. And that's what all of this is about. And Joshua Jackson plays a character who is still sort of a bad boy, and he is brought in by the Fringe Division of the FBI. Now, we can all imagine that this probably does not actually exist, but his character's name is Peter. His father is a scientist who has been in a mental institution for many, many years. That character is played by John Noble, who is also in Sleepy Hollow.
Now, he's a sin eater, right? In Sleepy Hollow?
Okay. Yes, John Noble is the sin eater.
And more.
Yes. No spoilers, but he is a recurring character in Sleepy Hollow who will be playing even more of a part in season 2 of Sleepy Hollow. And John Noble is amazing. Joshua Jackson's the reason I started watching this show, but John Noble playing Walter Bishop is the reason that I kept watching the show. He is so amazing in this show. He is this sort of naive, innocent little cracked scientist who the FBI needs his son to get him out of the mental institution to work on some cases that they have that seem funny. And when we talk about funny, we're talking about, teleportation, people melting. There were episodes of spontaneous combustion. We're talking about things that seem very X-Files. And
so odd, not funny, haha, but
not funny, haha. Well,
yeah, it depends.
Distinction.
I like a good spontaneous combustion.
Spontaneous combustion can be very funny, haha. Really, depending on who it is that spontaneously combusts. So, yes, odd occurrings that have some basis in science. So, Walter has a thing where he's very childlike at times, and then other times you see a flash of, kind of malevolent brilliance in him, and you see where he was this premier awesome scientist. Did either of you watch Fringe at all?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
They get another FBI agent who is a math whiz to be Walter's assistant, and her name is awesome. It's Astrid Farnsworth. I always love her name. They also have a cow in the lab called, of all things, Gene, Gene, which was always cool. And you have to love a show that was able to drag Leonard Nimoy into it as one of the characters. He plays William Bell in the show. He only shows up very few and far between, but that was awesome. I mean,
yeah, including one episode animated where they did the whole.
Yes, that was in the last season, and they had a freaky animated episode. But yeah, any show you can get Spock to make an appearance in is awesome. So, the show went through a lot of different changes throughout it all. It started out being more as kind of a case of the week sort of thing, but they slowly worked in all of the overarching story, because of course there has to be an overarching story of what's going on. Just like in X-Files, it started out being the search for a sister, and then, the whole alien presence and all of that. This starts out...
Sometimes that's good, though, that they start out with shorter stories, because
right.
Occasionally when they start out with the overall arcing story, it's a little slow going in the beginning. Like Defiance
right.
was a little hard to hook into because they spent the lion's share of their time getting into the overall story as opposed to some of the shorter ones. Yeah,
Defiance just has too many characters. I have high hopes for the next season that they'll get down to business, but with Fringe, they start out with case of the week type stuff. You've got, people's faces getting melted off, or they find some weird organism. And Walter always has to do his cool science stuff where they haul the bodies back to the lab, and he always has some freaky experiment type thing where they use to get their answers. Sometimes it's hooking up Peter to the dead body to read its thoughts, or stuff like that. There is a definite growth factor. Yeah, there's a definite growth factor in Fringe. But it's gross in a good way. I love it.
It's a good kind of gross.
It is. It's a good kind of gross. Now, if you've watched Almost Human, they have done a very similar thing. They've had some gross stuff happen in Almost Human that I think it's one of the reasons I like that show, is because I get such a Fringe vibe off of that show. But ultimately, Fringe is the story of a family, of the estrangement between Peter and his father, because he's basically only helping them because they're threatening him. He's done some illegal things, and they're basically blackmailing him into helping them get his father out of the mental institution, and he is technically his father's guardian, so he kind of has to stick around. And slowly he starts, being a very brilliant person himself, who has used his brilliance for bad criminal type sleazing around the world. He kind of gets a feel for this whole helping things. And it's the story of him and his father slowly getting back together and forming a relationship. They have to live together. Walter has a habit of walking around the house naked, and cooking naked.
Oh,
yes.
Not my favorite part. I'd like to be on official record to say.
Love
that series, not so much.
I like him, but he's sort of inherently creepy looking. And then you add the nakedness, and oh no.
He can be, but he plays he's so sort of innocent in his after he's been in the mental institution. Not anything to do with his nakedness. He's very childlike at times.
He's very childlike when he's naked.
Yes. And he's desperately trying to reattach with his son, who has left him as soon as he could. They haven't spoken in 20 years. And he loves...
Couldn't they have made Joshua Jackson the naked guy? Did they make the old guy the naked one?
That has to be one of my biggest disappointments, is that they never did that. They never did that. The only one we ever see naked is Walter.
Oh.
And a few dead bodies, but,
It broke my freaking heart.
So, that's basically the story. You find out why Peter hates his father so much. Basically, he was stolen. There's an alternate universe. Walter is such a brilliant scientist that he found a way to break into an alternate universe. He had a little machine that would basically work like a window, and it let them look into another universe. They're also plagued with these hairless guys in black suits that Walter calls observers. And for the longest time in the show, you don't know whether they're good, they're bad, or if they're aliens or who they are. They seem to be throughout history, watching at important times. And one of the big premises of the show is that one saved Walter and Peter from drowning when they fell into a frozen lake. So that is an observer called September, who plays a big part in the entire series.
That sounds very Lost.
It does. It's got a lot of aspects of all of these things, and it's very convoluted. But if you sit down and you watch all of the episodes, shortly, I think season 1 is pretty much the one that really did most of the case of the week type things, and then they started getting more into the bigger picture. Essentially, there's an alternate universe. Now, what happens in alternate universes, we've all been taught, is that there's another version of us over there. So there's another version of Walter in the alternate universe. There's another version of Olivia, that is the FBI agent who is ultimately in charge of Peter and Walter. And there's basically alternate versions of all of them over there, except for Peter. You eventually find out that Walter's son died, and that Peter this is a spoiler, everyone, but Peter is his son from the parallel universe. And he went there to save him because he couldn't save his own son, and then he never gave him back. And so this one act of love for his child, trying to save him in the alternate universe, basically tore a big hole in both universes, and the other universe is being destroyed.
That sounds very Doctor Who.
it gets very weird. And so you've got multiple characters going on. You've got Peter stuck in the middle. He finds out why his mother committed suicide, why he has always felt strange in this world. And all of this leads up to the very end of the season, the last season, which we have to thank Fox for even giving it to us so that they could sort of try to finish up the story. After all of these family issues, because that's really what it's always been about, is the love between a father and a son, and how they try to work through the universe-altering complications that have come between them. In the final season, you find out that Peter has a daughter, and this continues the whole theme of it being about the Bishop family and the love for your children and what you're willing to sacrifice and what exactly you're willing to do to save your child. And that's the big picture there. It starts out as being something very X-Files, very case of the week. But overall, if you look at all 5 seasons of the show, it becomes a story about the love between a parent and a child and what you're willing to do to save your child. And the possibly horrible things with horrible consequences that you're willing to do that. So I always thought it was really neat how you really don't see it until the very end of the show, where all of that sort of came together, and that's what it was all about. And I won't give away the very ending, but I cried. It was just Walter. Walter is one of the best characters ever. You'll still see me on Twitter scream out Walter, because Walter Bishop is the man. Shortly followed by Walter White, but Walter Bishop is the man. So if you have never watched Fringe, or you watched it and it just didn't seem to be your thing, I suggest going back and giving it another try now that they've finished all of it. It really had a lot of great mythology built into it. And you might notice at the beginning of every episode, and even in commercial breaks, they would flash up these glyphs during the commercial breaks. And at the end, if you were really smart, or like most of us would go online and look up what the glyphs meant, all of these glyphs meant something. And it was just another little layer to the show that they would give you, basically a word that was the meaning of that particular episode. So you just thought they were cute little decorations they were flashing up on the screen, but it was really a code that meant something. So they put a lot of thought into it. And like I said, it was a Bad Robot show, and every time I hear that little ending of a Bad Robot show where they flash that little robot on the screen and they go, Bad Robot! I just love that. It makes me happy. So I love Bad Robot.
Yeah, I mean, and you talk about them putting a lot of thought in it. It's cool because of the two universes. They're pretty close to parallel, but they're like little differences, and so there's some pretty easy cues for you to start to pick up to know which one you're in, which is good. It's a nice touch, and I won't spoil any of that, but it's all really, really cool there. And then the observers, who feature heavily late, actually make an appearance in every single episode. So somewhere they're in the background, they're somewhere like there, so it's kind of fun to try and watch the show and spot it. But since I can't even keep track of the 2 frickin' words they do on Walking Dead, where it's like a contest on a commercial break, they put up 2 words, and I get one of them, I have to go to the internet and say, okay, so where was the observer in this episode? And go back. Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. There is an observer in every single episode of the entire show. And obviously in the last season, because it was a lot of observers. But it's a great show. It was a very smart little drama that had a lot of hidden meaning in it. And so I highly recommend it. It's probably going to be one of my last regular TV show recommendations. I think I've run out of all my great loves, unless something really new comes along that just blows me away. Which I know, Jean, you haven't started watching Helix, have you?
No.
Okay. It just ended the first season, so you need to catch up.
On the list. It's on the list.
Bang. With a bang. So it's worth viewing.
Absolutely. So that's all I have. Watch Fringe by Bad Robot, J.J. Abrams, J.H. Wyman, and plug Almost Human because I like it and I don't want it to get canceled.
I know. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with that. I really hope they don't cancel it. It's a good show.
Yeah, they're saying they probably won't release anything now until before the next season should start.
Stinkers.
So, yeah. But we'll see. So, Jeans, I think you wanted to go in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
So there you go.
So there you go.
Blow us away.
Comfortable there. My recommendation is for a book called Ghosts of Tsavo, which is about the 2 lions in Tsavo, which they made a movie, The Ghost in the Darkness. Mm-hmm. And basically it was during like Victorian times. They were trying to build a railroad across Africa, and this was a British undertaking. And there were these 2 lions that plagued this particular spot, and took down a lot of workers, killed a lot of men. And the book, Ghosts of Tsavo, Stalking the Mystery of the Lions of East Africa, actually goes into some other areas, not just that particular story, although that is sort of the most popular one. It goes into some interesting details about man-eating cats and sort of, because the original story, as told by Patterson, who was the engineer that built that section of the railroad and the bridge, he is sort of got those colorful Victorian, just the way that he described everything. Everything is, of course, the lions were evil, and that sort of coloring of things. Mm-hmm. And obviously that's not really the case. And they have gone back and found some things that actually explain sort of why this kind of thing might have taken place. Okay. And there are some details, such as in the movie, Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas find this cave, and it's all these human bones, and they believe that this is where the two lions have been like dragging their kills so that they have like this prize, mm-hmm. And actually, as it turns out, that was an ancient burial site, and water had washed into the cave and brought all the bones sort of into one pile at the end of the cave. So it really had nothing to do with the lions other than the fact that they came through there. Yeah. And so there's actually some logical explanation, but it also gets into some interesting stuff about the behavior of big cats, and like how some of them will actually pick off people who are drunk coming out of like they were kind of doing this study, and there was an area, I don't know if it's a pub or a bar, but they were more apt to pick on the drunk ones, and they would kind of watch them because they're less apt to fight back and make noise.
Right.
Than someone who is, so they learn. Yeah. And, those sort of habits, and they're able to figure out which ones, are stumbling drunk and are easy prey.
So is this in modern times they're picking off the drunk people, or is it still back? Yes.
So yeah, he I think that's actually a tiger. It just gets into some interesting things, and some man-eaters show up in certain parts of Africa because that's where the slave trail was, and they would just dump off bodies. Instead of, burying them, if someone died, they just shoved them off on the trail, and the lions learned to scavenge and
right.
Exactly. And those slave trails end up turning into sort of major areas that people travel, later. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily for the same reasons, but the animals are still there,
Right. Waiting for a drunk person to stumble along.
Well,
I love that.
Beer brats taste better than regular brat. I know you're a vegetarian, Belle, so it doesn't mean but a beer brat's a better brat than a regular brat, so I get the whole eat the drunkies.
Eat the drunkies.
Hey. Well, the cats get a little buzz off of it too. You can't blame them. They don't have any money. They can't go into the 7-Eleven and buy some beer, so.
So it's interesting. I mean, the Chicago Museum has the lions, and it's sort of funny because they're not very big, but apparently they've been cut twice. Originally, they were not designed to be stuffed and stuff. Huff and puff and stuff. And and so that's why they're a little small in the museum, actually, because they look sort of menacing but little. Mm-hmm. Not like cat little, but I mean they're not as big as some of the other lions that you've seen at like the zoo or something. And they also have this interesting smaller mane, which is a trait that's more popular in that area of Africa for lions. Yeah. So they're because they almost look like females. Like when I was younger, I thought they were both females, but they're not. They're males. They're just it's the type of mane that they have.
Yeah, regional difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So that was also interesting. Yeah. And I'm just sort of fascinated by this whole like man-eating cat thing. Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I never saw the movie, but I love animals and I like reading different type animal stories, but I tend to stay away from the ones where it's just like they're man-eating horrors that we hate and we should kill them all. So if I even think a book seems like that, then I won't end up reading it because they tend to make me angry. So.
No, it's really good. It's by Philip Caputo, and it's very good. There's a couple of different books, but I think that one's my favorite. And because I've actually read Patterson's book, which is really long, and the section about the lions is not that long. And the rest of it, I was like, all right, I will finish this because I should. Because I always feel like I should finish anything I start. I can't.
Yeah.
There's only one book I've ever been able to be like, I can't finish this. And that was Confederacy of Dunces. He made me, that main character made me like so irritated and so angry. I'm like, you know what? I can't spend my spare time like this. So it's the only book I ever put down. But
sounds like an unrecommendation we may want to add to the bottom of this blog post. Every once in a while we get an unrecommendation, so that we could run with that.
It's an award-winning book, so I really wanted to be able to finish it, but he just made me so irritated. He was such a horrible main character that I just couldn't do it. But so there's a couple of books on this that are really interesting. Ghosts of Tsavo, and then I have another one that's the Lions of Tsavo, and that's pretty good too. But the one by Philip Caputo is fun.
Now, I never would have guessed that you had an obsession with man-eating cats.
I know, it's really strange, isn't it?
I'm less surprised, to be honest with you.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
It's a very interesting topic, and I recommend the movie. The movie is a lot of fun. It's Val Kilmer, so that's always good, and it's on his way to Old Man Fathead, but not quite there yet. So
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, where's he at in kind of the Elvis range in terms of is he Vegas Elvis Val Kilmer or is he Army Val? You know,
he's not Willow Kilmer, so but he's also
Willow.
Yeah. I love that movie.
I do too.
But
possibly a future recommendation.
Yeah, I have it. I love that movie. As a matter of fact, I just got it. I love that movie. So yeah, he's still attractive, less balloon head going on. And Michael Douglas looks pretty good in it too, actually.
Okay.
So.
Well, all right. Now that you can tell me it was good, that I might be able to watch it, because I avoid movies like that typically, unless I know that I always root for the animal. I'm like, kill them all, kill them.
They do still have sort of that sort of shading from the Victorian story, where the animals are evil, but I think it's a good story, and it kind of gives you kind of a head start into the books. Which and this particular one, like I said, he's actually going to Africa and talking about what happens to him while he's in Africa, and it's good. He's a very good storyteller.
Okay, cool.
So I recommend.
Well, I'm gonna check it out. That's good. I like that. I need to get out of my science fiction fantasy boundaries. Of course, but that makes me feel guilty because I have so many that are in my favorite pile. So, well, good. Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, I'll wrap up the recommendation side. A little side note on spontaneous combustion being fun. I do actually have a list of people in order I want to see spontaneously combust, but we'll save that for a future show. So, but it's always good to keep track, I think.
Yeah.
But my recommendation today is a gypsy punk band named Gogol Bordello, and
interesting.
It is impossible. There are a couple. If you are having the worst day of your life, you can grab a couple Gogol Bordello songs and fire it up in your car, and it will be impossible for you to remain in a bad mood any longer, because it's just the joy and energy that comes out of this group is just remarkable.
So I bet I can beat it.
You should just have someone walk around behind you, say anything style with a boombox. Like this 24 hours a day.
I need a little go. I mean, because Alice is always a pick me up for it, but this is more just pure happiness.
You're happy?
It's enthusiasm, because of a lot of topic matter. This is the main the lead singer and kind of the guy that pulls the group together for the most. His name's Eugene Hoots, and he comes from the Ukraine. And he's crossed a lot of borders. His family had to start to move after Chernobyl, and they moved across the Ukraine, and then they eventually got out of Russia. They were the last group to get out of the Ukraine under a certain immigration rule that basically meant at the end of the day you couldn't leave that country with more than $500 worth of cash and stuff. And so he has been through us. So a lot of the lyrics and things are about some of the not so pleasant things about border guards and those types of things. But it's gypsy music. It's gypsy punk music, which is just the most amazing thing in the world to listen to. And I am no dancer, and I will not dance, but this is the kind of thing that gets people close to wanting to at least move around. It's hard to remain stationary listening.
I'd be willing to bet that you will dance in the house when no one is home.
You would be wrong. And so,
I don't know.
not even a Gogol Bordello, as tempting as it might be. The name, there's a classical Russian writer, Nikolai Gogol, who was from the Ukraine. And part of his thing was he was trying to sneak in or float in Ukrainian culture into the larger Russian culture. So that's where Gogol comes from, because they're saying we're trying to sneak in gypsy music into a broader type of thing. And so the band kind of varies in terms of but there's an accordion, a couple guitars, a saxophone.
Is there a cello?
Not a cello yet. Violins, though.
Cello.
Well, Mel's a big cello music fan, but there are.
I've given a gypsy cello recommendation.
What's that?
Just checking. I did my Adam Hurst recommendation. He has an album that is more gypsy type-ish music, and he plays a cello. So
there you go.
Just checking. Cellos.
Violins, no cellos. Violins.
Okay, close enough.
But the other thing that is just outside the music being really fun is Eugene definitely has a strong accent. So it's that steeped in the Ukraine and gypsy in it. And so it's always, I can't replicate it, but it's that process that everything's enunciated extremely clearly, but it's like every word they're enunciating, there's like a ping pong ball floating inside their mouth and the words are wrapping around it. It's this very kind of interesting sound. So when you hear him say the words helicopter and machine gun in a song, just hearing him say it is awesome. It's just the accent and the delivery, and I can't put my finger on why, but it's just awesome. It is outstanding, as Gene would say.
Outstanding! The way he's sinking his teeth into those W's, as Indiana Jones would say.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on, and it's amazingly often. So I recommend, the group in general, as far as maybe the specific and entry point. Their second to last album was called Transcontinental Hustle. And it would be probably where I would start. It will include in the song When Universes Collide, the words helicopter and machine gun pronounced in an outstanding fashion. It would be good to hear. But there's a number of albums out there. There's also a movie called Gogol Bordello Nonstop, available on Netflix, where this was filmed in about 2007, and you get kind of a sense of where the group came from. They became a house band, and they kind of collected up in New York. It's this mix of people from America and the Ukraine and Brazil, and they became a house band at a little divey bar. He DJ'd there and then they played, but it is remarkably high energy, incredibly fun, and really good music, and wonderful enunciation and pronunciation going on from there. So you can kind of check them out, get a little bit of their backstory on the movie. You can listen to any of their songs, and they're pretty darn awesome. So I would recommend it. Probably my favorite one is a song called When a Trickster Starts a Poking, Bordello Kind of Guy. And that is full hardcore gypsy.
That's very loaded, Kelly. I'm just saying.
Yes. You just need to listen.
It wasn't the first image.
I will.
But it's a pretty fun stuff, and it's great music. It's got a little world music-ish type of thing, where you've taken the energy of gypsy music, infusing it with punk, and it's just good stuff. They also list the Clash as one of their influences, so that scored them points with me as well from there. And so I would highly recommend Gogol Bordello.
Okay, so if I'm injured next time, it's because I've listened to Kelly's recommendation and very unwisely tried to dance. Because I don't dance either. Because I fall down.
It will be hard.
I dance all the time. Like, I play music whenever I'm in the kitchen making soap, and I boogie whenever I can.
Well, and you need to get a couple of their albums in.
Right.
I will. That sounds awesome.
When I boogie, I fall down. So I tend to break
I'm getting kind of maybe sort of a Rusted Root sort of vibe off of what you're saying, and I dig that, so that's cool. All right. I'll check it out.
So I think that that wraps it up for recommendations. Now it is time for our new and improved social media recommendations. Am I going to go first?
That sounds swell.
Outstanding!
Okay. My recommendation this week is from Twitter, and it is at Eric IGN. That's ERICIGN. And he is an executive editor for IGN TV. And you'll like him, Kelly, because he really, really likes Disney. So he likes to go to, I get my Disneys mixed up, whether it's Disneyland or Disney World, but whatever. He really likes Disney. He goes there all the time. I really enjoy his Twitter feed. He doesn't just talk about business type stuff that, you know, he's paid to, like different TV shows. When he really gets behind a show, he really tweets a lot about it and really does a lot of work trying to get people interested in it and getting them to watch it. He was really into Nikita, but Nikita, I think ended last season or something. Right now he's really on a Revolution kick, which Revolution is a show that I'm behind on, so I haven't seen it, but it's all on my DVR. But I enjoyed Revolution when it started, and I need to get caught up. But I think you'll enjoy his Twitter feed if, as all of us here probably watch too much television. He likes to tell you what's good and what's bad, and he has the inside scoop on a lot of it because IGN is a very big television gaming movie site, and he gets the news first. So check him out at Eric IGN.
Cool.
You want to go, Jeans?
Sure. My recommendation on Twitter is Chimp in Socks. Which is Amanda Abington, which is Freeman's wife. So John Watson, his wife, Martin Freeman. She like almost never tweets anything about him. She did tweet some during Sherlock and stuff, which was cool, but she's just fun. She gets off on some tangents every once in a while, but they all kind of do, so it's really, you know.
Yeah.
That's what Twitter's for.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. I'm like the only, like one of the only people, there's a handful of us, I think, but, like I rarely ever do like, tangents and rants. Although I love watching other people do it, I tend not to do it so much myself. Oftentimes I will enter a tweet that is a rant and then just go, and just
delete it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For every one of my rants that comes out, I've probably deleted 20.
I don't know why. I just feel, I don't know. I mean, occasionally I'll say something like I did the other day about the high road, but that's pretty much it.
I saw that tweet.
The high road is a crappy path to travel sometimes.
It is.
Yeah, but small objects dropped from the high road can cause significant damage.
I don't think that makes it the high road, though. A higher road, maybe geographically, but not perhaps. Yeah.
There's always a higher road. You just need to be higher than the low road.
Morally.
Yeah.
Morally high. It's just geographically higher. It also makes you a better target, which is, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
La la la. So she went off on some rants, and you know, rightfully so. Like when they killed that giraffe in that zoo over in Europe.
Oh yeah.
She was angry. There was lots of tweets about that. But for the most part, she does fun tweets and selfies with friends at birthday parties, and she's fun.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you brought that up because I had seen her when that giraffe stuff was coming up, and I think I meant to follow her, and I don't think I did. So, and I forgot her handle. So, thank you. I was looking for her because I looked back through her feed. I remember at the time, and I had no idea she was on Twitter. So, anyway, I will follow her if I haven't already. I don't think I have. That's cool.
Definitely. Yeah, me too. And I'll wrap up the recommendations with, gentlemen, you see him on the Talking Dead on a regular basis. It's Matt Mock. And that's at MATTMOGK. He is the head of the Zombie Research Society. There is apparently such a thing.
Oh my God! Oh, that guy.
So
zombie survivalist guy, right?
The zombie survivalist with little tips about, hey, you know, make sure you have a lot of duct tape and this and that, and each time through. So the mere fact that he's actually made a going concern of zombie preparation and whatever, and there's the zombieresearchsociety.com. The related site actually is, you know, absent the survival tips, the rest of the content around it, pretty cool site. I mean, there's lots of imagery and those types of things that they'll kind of cut in there. So the site's pretty cool, and Matt's good on Twitter. He unfortunately falls into what has become for me an unfortunately long list of individuals that I've chosen to tweet something not particularly constructive about, and they happen to be on Twitter at the time and see my tweet and respond to me. And what I do like is the ones that choose to take it in the spirit in which it's intended, which is not intended to be
serious.
Not serious, but I did tweet after one of his little segments that says, why do I think that Matt Malk writes all of these tips and his little videos that he shows on there in his mother's basement? Is what I tweeted out, which I think is a fair question. So
I can totally see that.
So bad. Yeah. So bad.
Which he responded back nearly immediately to, saying, a basement would be a horrible place in a zombie apocalypse. So I don't do that. It's horrible, which I thought was clever and funny, and he kind of stood up for himself, but did it in a really funny way. So he seems to be pretty good spirit about it and engages on it. I'm a little suspect of his content in general, because it's usually, find a weapon, you can use a bat, you can put a nail in a bat. It's like, I don't know, but it's kind of fun stuff, and he's engaging on Twitter and a good sport about things. And the site itself, the Zombie Research Society sites, include, with a navigation bar that includes our experts, and I don't really know how you become a zombie apocalypse expert, but it's not in quotes, and maybe it should be. Our experts, a zombie survival section, zombie science, including subsets on incubation period, treatment, infection sources, and zombie culture. So there's lots of kind of, if you're in the zombie camp, it's pretty good. Their logo's kind of nice if you want a T-shirt. And so I'd recommend following him. He doesn't flood your timeline. He does stay pretty active during
zombie cryptozoologist.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Hey, he's right about one thing. You can't have enough duct tape.
As long as it doesn't have Bieber's picture on it, I'm good with duct tape, man.
It comes in all sorts of fancy colors now, but we will leave the Bieber ones at Walmart.
Unpurchased.
Yes. Even in the zombie apocalypse, we will leave them behind.
Like, I don't know how desperate I would have to be in a zombie apocalypse to actually grab that Bieber duct tape.
No, because I think that would get you killed faster than anything else. Any other survivors, they would kill you because they know they couldn't stand you, so they would really.
I think that would just be like painting a target on your head.
Absolutely, I agree. All right. I think that wraps us up with our zombie duct tape discussion. We are Nurture and Support. Please give us your recommendations on Twitter, like I said before. You can hit us up at our email. If you don't want to give us a public recommendation, hit us up at our email at nerdandstuff@gmail.com. Check out our website. Leave a comment at nurtureandsupport.net. And our Twitter, nerdandstuff.
And you can come say hi to me and to Bronwyn and actually Mel as well over at bringoutyourgeek.com.
Yes, I'm sorry. I almost forgot where jeans came from. I don't know why. Yes, Jeans makes lovely soaps, so check out her Etsy shops. And check out her website, bringoutyourgeek.com, where you will see a little bit of me, and you might see a little bit more of all of us in the near future. So check it out. And I think that's all we have for this week. Do you have anything else to say, Kelly?
I do not, except that maybe we have to add Bieber duct tape in the unrecommendation section.
Yes.
I'm completely behind unrecommending that.
We will make that an official unrecommendation of nurtureandsupport.net. So thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Nurturing and supporting